the next story, let me just put a disclaimer on it. If you are sensitive, if you don't like snakes, if you have a phobia, I would suggest that you perhaps just go make yourself a cup of coffee, do something, take a walk, because the next story is really going to be one that involves a snake and how a very brave pilot dealt with this particular situation. So please, if you have a phobia, if you can't stand talking about snakes like Leanne, please, I suggest that you do not stay with us for the next few minutes. And we're going to go to that story now because it is quite a bizarre story, but it is a true story. Now, as he describes it, our pilot will be joining us shortly. He felt a weird sensation, a weird cool sensation up his hip area. And he thought that maybe this was a bottle of water that wasn't properly closed. Water might be dripping down his shirt. But as he turned to look down, what he saw was a snake. But we are joined by the pilot who will tell us the story in more detail himself. And that is, of course, Pilot Rudolph Erasmus. And Rudolph joins us now. Thanks so much for your time. Welcome to Morning Live, Rudolph.
Hi, very good morning. Hope everyone's well.
So, Rudolph, I must say you get the award for the coolest person on earth, hands down, given what you went through. But, you know, I read the story and I'm already having certain issues, as I was telling you off air. But you had 4 passengers on board with you on that light aircraft. But let's start the story at the beginning. As you say, you were in Worcester, and let's take it from there.
All right, so we were scheduled for a flight going from Worcester in the morning back to our home base in Nelspruit, Mbombela, which was our end stop of the day, whilst making a few stops along the way. And the morning when we got to the aircraft, whilst I was busy pre-flighting, the 2 people that work at the local aero club over there, Peter and Rebecca, informed me that they saw a Cape Cobra that sought refuge underneath my aircraft wing that Sunday afternoon. And they had a suspicion that it crawled up into the engine cowlings. So we opened up the engine cowlings trying to find the snake. We didn't find anything at all. So we safely assumed that it had gone on its merry way and it's no longer near or in the aircraft. Then we made our first stop at Bromfisher, just for some extra fuel for the day, and we got some takeaway snacks there from Mackenbean and began the second leg of our journey on our way to Wonderboom. And about 25 nautical miles north of Welkom, I felt this cold sensation is crawling up here on my hip side as I was wearing a loose T-shirt that was not tucked in. And I actually thought it was my water bottle, because I usually fly with these pump water bottles that are lodged between my side and my hip and the sidewall of the aircraft in the cockpit. And I actually thought I didn't close it properly. But to my surprise, when I started turning left and looking down, I saw the head of the snake proceeding back underneath the seat of the aircraft.
So, obviously, you know, when you feel that sensation, was it something that was moving? Because I'm dying right here just thinking about, you know, my reaction and what it would be to something that I'm not understanding moving around my mid area.
No, I must say it was a moment of stunned silence. I think it was more that my brain didn't really register what was going on. But yeah, I then sought refuge underneath the seat of my aircraft. I had a moment of silence before I informed the passengers, who were also my work colleagues. But luckily, when I did inform them and told them we've got a bit of an issue on board, the snakes underneath my seat, they all remained fairly calm, I must say. There was no panic on board, and that helped to diffuse the situation quite well, in my opinion. So I then had a chat with Johannesburg, which I was the control tower that I was speaking to at the time. They then cleared us for the descent into Welkom, as that was our closest, nearest suitable airport that we could land the aircraft safely. And as soon as the aircraft came to a complete stop, we then shut the aircraft down. The 3 passengers in the back, they climbed out first. And then the passenger sitting next to me in the front, he was the second of the group to leave. And I then got out last. And as I was standing on the wing whilst moving the seat forward, I saw the snake curled up in a nice little bundle underneath my seat.
So I just want to know, Rudolph, because I know for sure that if I was on that plane, we were probably all going to die. Nobody was going to live to tell the tale, because if I were the pilot, I would have just left everything. And if I was a passenger, I was probably going to cause so much commotion that we were going to crash anyway. We would be talking air crash investigations now. But, how did you know that decision as to whether to tell them or not? Because it could have gone so wrong if someone had panicked.
100%. So I actually thought initially of not informing them. But then I thought to myself, listen, if the snake does slither through to the back or in the cabin, then I don't want it to be a surprise, and I don't want anyone to panic, because that's going to make the whole situation a lot worse. So just remaining calm is the only thing we can do, and getting the aircraft safely on the ground as quickly as possible.
So there you are. Everybody's nice and calm, and I think, thank God for that. You land, you see the snake. So at this point, as you said, you had already landed, and there the snake is coiled up. So did you manage to capture it then?
No, unfortunately not. We got the local snake handlers in Welkom, Johan de Klerk. He spent the last 2 days trying to help us to catch the snake. By the time they arrived there, it somehow vanished. It's either underneath the rudder pedals, or it came back from the hole it crawled out of. And it became a 2-day mission trying to find the snake, but unfortunately with no success.
So for all you know, the snake could still be on your craft.
There is a slight possibility, yes, especially in the airframe area. There are lots of neat little places that it could seek some refuge.
So have you flown since then, Rudolph, in that particular craft?
I did actually. It was on Tuesday morning. I flew back from Bloemfontein, from Welkom back to Nelspruit. We had the people from Ferreira AMO in Bloemfontein that assisted us taking out the seats, the rugs, the panels and all that, trying to find this elusive snake. But like I said, unfortunately to no success. So when I did fly back, I made some precautions. I just covered up all the holes that I could possibly cover up inside the aircraft, and especially under my seat as well, so I don't get another surprise visit. And basically just hoping and praying the whole route back to Nelspruit it doesn't show its head again.
I tell you what, you're a better man than everybody I know, because there's no way that I would, for example, set foot on that aircraft again. So you telling me after you saw that snake and you didn't find it, you guys proceeded on that journey to Mbombela?
Yeah, so my work colleagues, they then got a rental car from Avis, and they drove down to Mbombela, and then I flew the aircraft back down.
Yeah, I know. I would have been on that car. I would have even, preferred to walk back to Mbombela, but I wasn't going to take the chance with that snake. But Rudolph, how often, is something like this likely to happen? Because you say at Worcester Airport, the people working there actually did spot the snake. So is this something that occurs fairly regularly, or is this like a freak sort of thing?
No, this is definitely more like a freak sort of thing, to be truly honest. It's not common at all.
Sure. And I just want to say that, you get the award for the coolest person on earth, because I don't understand how you can still fly even today on that craft, not knowing where that snake is. But Rudolph, what's your advice for people generally? Because I think most of us are prone to panic in situations like that, because, when you talk snakes, that's fear-inducing for most people.
100%. No, like I can say, the only thing to do is in a bad situation or scary situation is trying to keep a cool head and finding the quickest way and the most effective way to deal with it calmly.
Well, you certainly are the hero of the story. Rudolph, thanks so much for sharing that with us. And I was telling Rudolph off air, I was like, I can't. He's started something now, and I am in permanent fear. I want to see every little dark corner because I'm just so scared of a snake popping up somewhere. But Rudolph, thanks so much. Mbombela pilot Rudolph Erasmus relating his encounter with a highly venomous Cape cobra that he discovered 11,000 feet mid-air under his seat and still managed to land that craft safely.